So, let's talk about a certain thing that's been thrown at lolcowlive and the greater whole of lolcow, right? Is it scripted? Is it a troll? Is this being directed? This mindset, though it is apply a lot to lolcowlive, isn't really new. People probably felt the same back when Christian was becoming popular, and how people felt that it was just one big internet troll, there's one big internet like this really big artsy project, right? But it isn't, right? It turns out to be real, so real that you want to believe that it's fake, and people still do believe that it's still fake, but it's very much real, right? Now, what about lolcow live? And it's really more or less a talking point for the most part. Is it scripted? Is it being directed? Is it all just being plotted out? Truth be told, and I've said this a number of times, a lot of these people are very incompetent. If we were going off a scale or even power scaling for the kicks, like Dragon Ball Z, who is the most competent in this whole thing? It probably would be Keemstar, and then probably Jordy or Kid behind the camera, and maybe Billy the Fish, who are probably the most competent of them all, right? If they were given a script, they would probably follow it down to the teeth, but I don't believe it is. I don't believe any of it is scripted, but we like to believe that it is, for the sake of our own mindset, the sake of the fantasy, right? Like wrestling, you want to believe is real. You want to believe that these people and their stories are real. But at the end of the day, when the curtain is pulled back, it isn't. Now, there are instances where the fantasy is broken by the reality. Some wrestler had Paris live before, which broke the fantasy, broke the actual story. And I feel like lolcow is more about the reality than the fantasy. We would like to believe that Jordy isn't this sociopath, or not really sociopath, but we like to believe that he's not an emotional freak. We like to believe that Boogie isn't this incompetent, this dumb, and this very childish that he is. We like to believe that Keemstar isn't this. Well, if anything, Keemstar is more of like, people like to think that he's the master manipulator who's directing and he's plotting every little thing down to the detail. But he, it isn't. We like to think Tina is not the stereotypic. I mean, honestly, she probably does live in a nice little trailer park area. Believe it or not, some trailer parks, some of them I've been to, are very hard to get into for just a number of reasons. So I'll give her credit on that part. Good on you, Tina. But, we like to believe that she isn't this yelling, the outrageous woman. At the end of the day, when we face reality, or when we face God, the truth is a lot more frightening than any lie you can imagine. These people are the way they are. And there's no script. Maybe some things are over exaggerated. Some things are blown up for proportion, like just to get a reaction, to get a crowd. But even then, I guess it's human. We like to believe that this is fake, but also we like to see a dumpster fire. It's like a really slow car accident happening. It's just happening. We're slowly seeing both cars going extremely fast, or just one car or two hitting a pit of ice, or taking the wrong turn, or doing something really stupid, or not paying attention, and we're witnessing it. We're taking it in. The disaster is about to happen. Or even like the inversion of it, like the birth of a child, right? Where it's this long, grueling process of a life being born. And that's how I kind of see it. This grueling process of this story being played out that isn't scripted, but if you want to go beyond that, right? You want to go beyond the human understanding. Maybe in a way, this is all planned out by God, or whatever you want to believe in. And if that's the case, and maybe it's scripted in that sense, and maybe we don't really determine our future. Maybe things are so planned out that we like to believe that it's not scripted, that this isn't going to happen. But in the end, that may not be the case. Or at least we like to believe that isn't. We like to believe, especially Americans, like to believe that we are in control of our future, our destiny, and maybe there's some truth to that. But like a car accident, you can't prevent it. Or in reality, you could have prevented it. But for whatever reason, you just didn't. And is lolcowlive scripted? Kind of getting back to the point. I don't think it's scripted. I just think that these are just very incompetent people who are so gone, and worst case scenario, they have become so socially inept they don't know how to simulate back to the greater whole of humanity. And if that's the case, then maybe I like to believe it's scripted, but I know it is not. These things have to play out. And I think that's enough proof and evidence to say it is not scripted. But I think in some instances, there are some things that are being directed. Some things that are being pushed in a certain way. But a good example would be the whole Wings thing. Where Wings, and I'll get into that in a different video maybe one day, about how Wings was supposed to lose at a COD match. If that is an example of things being scripted, then I kind of prove the game probably isn't competent in scripting these things out. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm completely wrong. But maybe it's just better to let things play out naturally and watch the disaster. You can prevent it. It's just like with health. So it's just like with your own personal health. You could prevent cancer. You could prevent a certain disease from developing. But for whatever reason, we don't. And I wouldn't say that's scripted. But I would say that it's sort of maybe kind of planned in a very dumb manner. Because you're not thinking through. But maybe I'm wrong. In the end, none of this is scripted. But we like to believe because it's better than the alternative. And maybe the alternative is more truer than we think. Or really the best case scenario, there's something in the middle. Until then, y'all, have a good one. Be safe. And God bless.